House of the Dragon has had its first teaser trailer. Obviously, a real trailer is on the way, and I predict it'll probably be here sometime around, winter. But in this video, I want to discuss some information that was sent to me through the DMs over on Twitter. Speaking of which, make sure you go follow me at sir_hunts. But remember, take this information with a grain of salt, because it's more than likely a load of horse shit, but nonetheless, it serves its purpose in entertaining us throughout this long night. Alright, now real quick, before we jump into the content of this video, please do me a massive favor in helping to combat YouTube's algorithm from delisting my videos. Slap a like on it, the like goal is going to be 42 if you could please, and then also make sure you're subscribed and turn those notifications on. That's super important, because every time I drop a video, you'll be one of the first people that are alerted, and the sooner you go and watch it, well, the sooner that YouTube's algorithm will treat it like a regular video. Please consider doing this to not only my channel, but any YouTuber that you watch here on YouTube. It really helps us out. Alright, now specificities for this video. I have 10 different episode titles. I've got 6 episode descriptions, but I can kind of guess what's going to go on judging by the title. Before I mention those episode titles, I actually received some more information from someone else, and this is like kind of just a summation of what they've noticed is going on, and then maybe some of the extra behind the scenes information they were privy to when they were, doing what they do for HBO and working for House of the Dragon. So this person mentions that first things first, Rey will be given a more hands-on role. In the show, it's going to be expanded upon what she does in the dance. Now, for those who aren't aware, in the source material, this is really exciting to hear, because in the source material, Rhaenyra kind of sits back on Dragonstone and allows her children to go off and sort of start the beginning of the dance. Like, she does have a hand in this massive Targaryen civil war known as the Dance of Dragons, but to be honest, it seems as though she kind of takes the seat back. Like, there's this massive build-up for her in the books, but then she's kind of hands-off for the most part when the battles are going down. Like, she does hop on her dragon and fly around and do some intimidating Targaryen shit, but the books kind of left her role sort of open-ended, and I think that's intentional because the show is obviously going to expand upon it. This person also mentions that the first season alone features 4 different tournaments, and one of these tournaments will feature for almost the entire length of an episode runtime. They said that the scenes and the footage of the tourney last for about 33 minutes of the episode. And then lastly, they mentioned that each episode is nearly an hour, and the budget for one episode alone has gone over the budget by $30 million. Now, that's all they mention, and I think it's pretty obvious what episode that could be if this information is legit, and that's most likely the one where we get to see the dragon pit. That's where a good chunk of the dragons are, and if we're seeing them next to each other, and, obviously other Targaryens on screen, obviously a few of them are going to be hopped on and ridden around, that episode is going to cost an insane amount of money. So if that's legit, that's my prediction for which episode went over budget. I'm pretty sure all of them will go over budget for at least the first season or two, until they really wrap their heads around how much it's going to cost to perfect the CGI for the dragons. Alright, now let's jump into the juicy leaks. The main reason why most of the people here, not that last information wasn't good, but the episode title. Episode 1 is supposed to be called The Realm's Delight. Supposedly, Rhaenyra's past is revealed, a king gets his crown, and enemies are made. Episode 2 is going to be called The King's Brother. Prince Daemon conquers a kingdom of his own, is the description that I was given. And episode 3 is called The High Towers of Old Town. In this episode, we will get Alicent's motivation revealed, and her past with the Old King. A tourney is held, and the Greens versus the Blacks is established, apparently, or beginning to be established. So we'll probably get a shot of, Rhaenyra wearing that red and black Targaryen dress, and then Alicent wearing her green dress. And because they do this at a tourney that's really public, there's like a lot of the high lords and ladies of the 7 kingdoms are present. This is where that respective party is established. Like, Alicent is the Greens for House Hightower, and all of her Targaryen children that, are running under that banner. And then the Blacks are for Rhaenyra, and everyone loyal to House Targaryen in their official colors, because she was, remember, the Princess of Dragonstone. So it's interesting, the color coordination combos that we'll probably be getting. And then they also mentioned that in episode 4, this one's going to be called The Bargain. And they said that no details are currently given, just that a massive battle will happen. So if that's the case, episode 4 will likely be mostly a battle. And that's like halfway through the season, so it makes sense if the pacing is a little bit off. You have an episode that's just straight war and blood and fire. And then episode 5 is going to be called The King's Crown, and the description we're given is Rhaenyra will attend a small council meeting, and enemies are made. And then episode 6 is called The Road of War. No info is given as well, and this episode will mostly be flashbacks. So this is probably plot filler, like filling in the the loops or the missing information that the average show watcher doesn't necessarily know. That's what is mostly going to be filled. Or episode 6 is mostly going to be filled with that. And episode 7 is called The Black Council, and the description we're given is Rhaenyra is crowned. Episode 8 is called The Fall of Harrenhal. Now this is interesting. The attack on Harrenhal is something that happens early on in the Dance of Dragons, and since there's no information that's given for this, supposedly episode 8, basically what happens is Prince Daemon, who's obviously allied with Rhaenyra, goes out and attacks the Strongs' home because the Strongs are allied with the Greens. So Daemon does this, and he actually does it a really good way because he does it without shedding any blood for the most part. It shows Daemon's prowess, and it shows that, hey, they're doing wrong things. This doesn't need to be a massive battle. Prince Daemon basically uses his head for this one, and he lands Caraxes on the King's Spire, and then the person who's inside, the Castellan at the time of the Strongs, basically bends the knee to him. And then also, around this same time, this is really, really interesting. I feel like if the Starks are going to be introduced this episode, it should be played into the title, but this is right around the time where we have the Pact of Ice and Fire. I don't want to go into specific details because those are pretty big spoilers, but just know that that is going to be a heavy plot line in this series. And I think that happens in episode 8, where we have, Daemon attacking Harrenhal, and then we have, the Pact of Ice and Fire being made with Cregan Stark. I guess, you know what, fuck it, we'll reveal it. So basically, Jacaerys is the oldest of Rhaenyra's children, so he's given the more difficult mission. He flies to the Vale, Lady Arryn, and remember I mentioned in a video the other day that this is around the area where Nettles is worshipped as a woods witch, after Daemon supposedly dies, or, at least his dragon dies, maybe Daemon lives. This is around that area, so it'll be interesting if we see Jacaerys flying to the Vale. Then he eventually makes it up north, and supposedly he befriends Cregan Stark, and that's where we have, the Pact of Ice and Fire. Basically, Jacaerys is trying to get Cregan to pledge his fealty to Rhaenyra, and obviously Cregan does do this, but he doesn't enter the dance until much, much later. I think this is another thing that the show is going to expand upon, is his role. I did see a couple of people saying in my comment section and on social media, saying like, hey, it would be weird if we did see the Starks from the first season, or hey, it would be weird if we did see Castle Black. Not really. They don't play as massive as a role as obviously the Starks in the main series, but it's callbacks. We have to see Castle Black. We have to see the North. We have to see Winterfell. This is the same series. You don't need to have the Stark plot or the Starks in general just hidden from this story because they don't want it to feel too much like the original. Like, no, we need some fan service. Like, we saw what happened with the Starks, and I'd like to see what the fuck the Starks are doing now. Cregan Stark is one of the best Starks in my opinion, and I really can't wait to see what the show does with his character. In the last 2 episodes, it's very similar with no actual description giving, but episode 9 is supposed to be called Shipbreaker Bay, and in the book, this is one of the most tragic moments of the dance, where basically Aemon One Eye goes up and kills his nephew Lucerys. I talked about that a bunch in my more recent videos. And then the last episode of the season is supposed to be called Blood and Cheese. This is also something that I've talked about tremendously amount of times in my video. Like, basically, Daemon hires Blood and Cheese to go and do some crazy child murdering, right? So this seems like a good point to wrap this video up. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please do me those massive favors and slap a like on this video. The like goal is going to be 42. And then also make sure you're subscribed and turn your notifications on. That really helps out my channel. Super special shout out to my Patreon family over on patreon.com/yourhuntsreviews. And remember, if you want to enter that giveaway for one of my hand-painted paintings, well, make sure you just leave a comment down below and let me know some of your thoughts and my thoughts in this video. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Long Nights Reviews. Boom. Zeldrizas Buzdari. Ixos Daor.